Are you ready?
I was born ready.
Guys, everybody, welcome in to episode 1 of the Stock Guy and Alex Show, a brand new podcast that covers topics around the world, business, news, markets, money, sports. If people are talking about it, so are we. The Stock Guy and Alex Show can be watched, listened, and viewed on YouTube. It can also be downloaded and listened to wherever podcasts are downloaded. Follow the show on Twitter, Insta, LinkedIn, TikTok, all the major socials for clips, moments, and information about new episodes. Like I said, man, episode 1. Are you ready?
I was ready, before we even got this going. But, I'm just wanting to check in on you. How you feeling, bud?
I'm feeling great. We were supposed to do this 2 weeks ago. And
we weren't.
Yeah, we were supposed to do this 2 weeks ago. We were supposed to record episode 1 the first weekend of September. Unfortunately, I had some personal things come up. One of those personal things was a passing in the family, so which I informed you about. You were very kind in your response. The other thing was I was just getting over and just got out of a little bit of a quarantine. I'm feeling good now.
Quarantine? What happened? Why don't you tell me?
I don't know if you've heard of this thing that's going around, COVID-19, 2 years ago.
COVID-19.
Yeah, 19 came out 2 years ago. COVID-19, it's the 19. It's still around, bro.
I've heard that there's still a couple cases lingering. So you got a little bit of that bug?
We got the bug. We did our quarantine, and got my note from the Department of Public Health here in St. Louis that says I am good to go. My isolation is done. I've done multiple COVID tests since. I am negative on all accounts, and we're looking good. We're looking healthy. You're looking good, and you're looking healthy. You've been up drinking coffee.
I have been drinking coffee, but I haven't had any of those COVID symptoms ever since I got the vax. I got with the Moderna, the double shot. Although they want me to get a third one apparently.
Did you research before Moderna, Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, and how did you decide Moderna?
I did do researching on both of them, well, all of them, but the reason that I went with Moderna was because it was the first one available in my area. I was going to go with either Pfizer or Moderna. Obviously, the vaccine thing, it's a little bit of a controversial topic. I mean, it is a controversial topic, and I'm not a big vaccine guy. I haven't had the flu vaccine in 15 years. But I got a kid now, and I got a wife, and I got all these things going on. So I'm just trying to be a little bit more careful. And I'm not an anti-vax guy, although did I tell you about what happened with the baby when she was born?
No.
So when the kids are born, immediately when they're born, they get hit with vaccines, right? And the first one they wanted to hit with was the hepatitis vaccine. And the doctor comes to me, the nurse, she goes, hey, we gotta get this consent form. And I'm like, consent form for what? She's like, for the vaccine. I'm like, what vaccine? She goes, for the hepatitis. I'm like, she was just born. She's like, I'm just not gonna get hepatitis. She's like, yeah, but it's a preventative. And I said, and she says, and they come back in a few weeks for it. I said, if it comes back in a couple weeks, then why are we doing it now? And she started giving me this reason, and I said, I think I'm gonna wait. And she goes, what do you mean? I said, listen, my baby, I mean, it's quarantine. We're locked down. COVID's going on. We're going to go home, and that's it. I said, I don't think my baby's going to be in the parking lot sharing needles with other little babies.
You did tell me this. Good. I remember that line. I remember hearing that line.
So all of a sudden, they're looking at me like I'm some kind of anti-vax, like this. And I'm like, lady, it's fine. And we got the vaccines a couple weeks later. But
well, you're in Florida. So, there's a higher index of anti-vaxxers down in Florida, from what I hear.
And probably higher rate of hepatitis.
Most likely, but you're vaccinated. You got the Moderna, and you're feeling good.
I did. You?
I'm not vaccinated yet. I'm not vaccinated yet. I've been just wanting to do the research and try to figure it out. There's a lot of information out there. There's also everyone likes to say this idea of misinformation, right? So I don't know what news. I haven't known what to believe and what not to believe. I'm definitely pro-vax. I'm if I had a kid, they'd get all the vax, whatever. I'm definitely pro-vax. I've been just trying to figure out which one's right. And the Johnson & Johnson one is probably the one that I'm going to end up getting.
But that's got the least effective rate.
But the Moderna and the Pfizer both use, from my research, right? So this idea of misinformation's out there. I don't know what to believe, what not to believe. I've kind of narrowed down. I've read a lot of different things, watched a lot of different things, and there's like a common thread of what I hear that Moderna and Pfizer use this like messenger RNA to go in there and talk to your DNA and say, hey, produce this spike protein to defend against attacks like pathogenic attacks like COVID-19. That's what they do. The the Johnson & Johnson actually sends the spike protein into your system. So instead of talking to your DNA and saying, hey, do this, the Johnson & Johnson actually just sends it in. So to me, that sounds, I don't know, that sounds like more natural. But I don't know. I'm still doing a little bit of research. I'm probably going to get vaccinated here in the next couple week or two. But I don't know, man. There's just so much misinformation. I don't know what to believe. There's also like boosters coming out, right?
That sounds like, listen, I'm an ex-military guy, right? Like the way you just described it, and I've heard similar things. It sounds like training your own army versus hiring mercenaries, right? Like you can hire mercenaries that already know what they're doing to go in, but once they beat the battle and once the battle's over, they disperse, right? And then if something happens, you got to wait and you got to hire them again to go in and fight. Rather,
I feel like it's the opposite.
Your own army.
I feel like it's the opposite, actually. I feel like your body's immune system is your army. And if you allow your body to go fight, then it's your army. They know what it's been protecting you.
But you're sending in a vaccine that goes in and trains those antibodies. And trains
but who's
those
doing
things.
the training? You know what I mean? What's that training all about? What else what else is it training at the exact same time? You know what I mean? I appreciate that all these vaccines are available. I'm just trying to figure out which one's best for my body specifically. I want one of the three, and I'm leaning towards Johnson & Johnson.
I think dewormer is probably the answer.
So what? But there's also boosters, bro. There's also boosters coming. There's also boosters.
Well, but it's the same thing with the flu vaccine, right? Like you have to get a flu vaccine every single year. It's basically like a booster.
Have any boosters come to market yet?
No, but the FDA is voting on whether or not they should have a booster. Now, obviously, there's some contention, there's some problems there, or some issues regarding that, because Pfizer and BioNTech, and full disclosure, I'm invested in BioNTech as a stock, but Pfizer, one of their board members is also the former FDA chief. And so there is a monetary, I don't know how to put this. I would just say that obviously these companies want boosters because it's more money and more
how
revenue.
Can you not be not you specifically, the royal you? How could one not be skeptical when there's so many different interconnected like incentives and webs like that? Like, you know what I mean? I'm
not saying that there's not, incentives monetarily behind it, but at the same time, you've got data coming out that, like there's this old conspiracy that the government wants to do population control, right? Like I used to go down the rabbit hole.
That's Bill Burr.
Okay. 8 years ago, I used to go down the rabbit hole, and I was into a lot of, crazy things that were potentials. But here's my idea with population control. As somebody who does economics and GDP and all that stuff like that, I know that governments need more population in order to have more money and more growth and more strength. They don't need less population. There's already a global crisis right now with not enough babies being born.
Why? Hold on. You had a tinfoil hat on? You said a couple of years ago you were pretty conspiracy theorist? I'm
gonna be real with you. Okay, there was a time where I was into some alternate ideas. Now, some of them I still believe in, but some of them I've kind of moved away from. Now, obviously, conspiracies, that's a whole nother episode, but I'm just going to say remember, a conspiracy theory and a conspiracy, it doesn't mean it's tinfoil hats and aliens. It just means that there is alternate, reasonings behind something. And sometimes conspiracy theories become conspiracies. It's no longer a theory. False flags, for example, and that's a whole other rabbit hole we could go down.
So, okay, the idea of conspiracies then applied to what we're doing here in this world right now, vaccines, boosters. There's obviously people have their opinions on private rights, and there's a lot of people that aren't getting vaccinated just because they say they're good. I've asked a lot of people, like, are you vaccinated? And their response is, I'm good. Like, I don't need one. Like, and private rights, to an extent, and that's the big, I shouldn't even say to an extent, private rights, period, right? That's private rights. But when it comes to something like COVID that impacts us so globally on such a global community basis, it's like where and when does one person actually have to go get a vaccine, right? Like, is it never? Is it sometimes? Who knows, man?
Well, I would say that as somebody who's a big believer in personal liberty and everything, it becomes a thing of personal versus community, right? So for example, drug use, right? A lot of people say, well, you should have the right to use drugs. That's fair. But what happens if you overdose? What happens if you have to go to a hospital? What happens if you get sick?
And then that's where the government,
or does the government have to come in? So now the question becomes, where is that line? So for example, you have the right to not get a vaccine, but you believe in personal rights, right? Like not you, but like
the royal
personal rights. And so if you believe the government should not be involved in it, and I agree with that to an extent, then you believe the government should not get involved in your having to get a vaccine or not. But at the same time, the private business, who's also private rights, can deny you service.
And that's kind of like Adam Smith making like the invisible hand, like making the decision, right? It's like the macro community making the decision.
I'm leaving the government out of this. I'm just saying a private individual and a private business both have the ability to decide what they want, right? So if you decide not to get a vaccine, you don't have to. But if private business says you can't come into my business unless you're vaccinated, is that discrimination or is that a private right?
That's what I'm talking about with Adam Smith. It's sort of like it's just the economic idea that it's all gonna work out as it's intended to. Obviously, there's way more to the invisible hand than just that. But like the St. Louis Blues, I'm in Missouri. The St. Louis Blues just announced that you gotta have proof of vaccine to get into a game. I mean also a negative COVID test. But who's gonna go if you're a season ticket holder? Who's gonna go get a negative test before every game? They play like 40 something home games. Like how are you gonna go get 40 negative tests?
As a season ticket holder, you have the right to get a refund. Right?
You definitely have a right to get a refund, but at the end of the day, all that really anybody wants to do is show up and watch hockey and have a good time, But when they come out and they say you got to get a vaccine, that's like to me that is it's their right to say that, and that to me is the people actually like controlling and moderating the community. Them coming out and saying, "Hey guys, we collectively need a vaccine to feel safe and comfortable." A lot of it's just public confidence. A lot of it's just
and I think there's a counter argument too, which is the whole reason to get a vaccine. Getting a vaccine does not prevent you from getting COVID. Like we already know that, right?
Right.
Like you can have a vaccine, you can get COVID and still transmit it to somebody. So it doesn't stop the transmission. What it does is it stops the severe effects. So the idea that somebody has to be vaccinated to go to a public place. And I see the counter argument there, which is why do that? It doesn't stop the spread of COVID. So why force somebody to be vaccinated to go out if it doesn't stop the transmission? Like you're literally not doing anything.
But what if everybody's vaccinated? But what if everybody's like, what if everybody, is it stronger? Is it kind of like one of those things where like, if there's a tear in the fabric, it's easier to tear, but if there was no tear at all, you couldn't make it, like you couldn't actually rip? Like if everybody was vaccinated, would there be this sort of like herd immunity? I don't think I've ever even seen that suggested. Maybe it has been.
Well, herd immunity is something that happens with a lot of different infectious diseases and viruses. But the problem is that this is still so new that there's so many. It's evolving so quickly. Not just the science behind it, but also the actual virus. And the thing is that what I always see the argument right now is if the vaccine doesn't actually stop the virus, then and it keeps transmitting, then it's never going to go away. And a lot of scientists are saying it's never going to go away. But without the ability for there to be a herd immunity, and we're seeing this, only 1% of developing nations actually are vaccinated, it allows for that transmissibility and the ability for it to mutate before it can actually be, under control. And that's what starts these new variants.
Put your tinfoil hat on. Do you have one?
Okay, got you.
Put your tinfoil hat on. Gain of function actually started this entire pandemic. Yes or no? Is your tinfoil hat on?
Like it. Okay, tinfoil hat Stocky says yes. We created this.
What?
Okay.
So here's and for anybody that doesn't know what gain of function is, it's basically like it's a subset of like pathogenic research that is built to build superviruses, so that way we can study and research superviruses, potentially superviruses that might mutate naturally out in the wild, whatever, and might be harmful to the human race or the human population. That
In
is
other
gain of
words,
function.
we're basically creating super viruses to test them out to see how they spread and how we could stop them before it actually does it in nature and gets the entire population. So we're like, oh shit, this could happen. Let's make it happen on a small scale and test it so that we can know about it and fix it and prevent it before it happens
Which
naturally.
just to me, tinfoil hat or not, to me literally sounds like an attract what you fear, self-fulfilling prophecy. To me, that's what that sounds like. Because if it doesn't exist out in nature, then what reason do we have to believe that it will exist out in nature, just happen? And the fact that we're creating these things, I mean, come on. What if there's just some terrible event, like there's a fire at one of these labs and all of a sudden it gets out or something like that? Like, to me, that is literally attracting what you fear. However, on the flip side, going back to the tinfoil hat conversation, that's the connection between the Wuhan lab and COVID-19, is that they were doing some sort of like SARS-CoV sort of research at that lab, I think.
Yeah, and so originally everybody was trying to downplay it by saying it came from some bat being eaten at a wet market, right? Like everybody's like, oh, it came from nature. And then it was like, wait a second, it started in Wuhan and we paid money, or at least the NIH was giving money to this lab to develop this, and this is exactly where it happened, kind of odd. So now there's this big debate going on about gain of function. Now, from a moral standpoint, I mean, you know, I actually am a fan of trying to get ahead of things in such a global population, but I think we should be doing it like the raccoon facility underground, right? That way we could just nuke it if it goes wrong.
Yeah, I mean, even underground though, man. What's living underground that it can start? You know, to me, I don't want any of this stuff existing on the planet.
Well, we don't want it to exist, but the question becomes. And like I said, this is a hot topic. But what if it does develop in nature, and by the time we do figure it out, it's too late?
That's like a what? To me, that's so many what ifs. That's built in fear, and to me, I'm a huge believer in you attract what you fear. If you learn how to manage those fears, and sure, to an extent, that research is really good. But there's a lot of different human actors like in this world, and that do a lot of different things. When you build the code for like this super virus that all of a sudden, you know, shows like a fatality rate that's way greater than like a COVID-19. Let's say you build a super virus that has a fatality rate of like 20% and a transmissibility rate that's like off the charts. Who's to say that someone isn't going to get their hands on that recipe and do something nefarious with it? Some sort of biological warfare.
It's like nuclear weapons, right? I mean, in the 1940s, right? Like we literally stole the info from the Nazis to help us, you know, with the Manhattan Project, which we then turned around and used, and then the plans got leaked, and then everybody has nukes.
That's my point. Is like, why even go down this path? And you can say in the name of science, right? And with the tinfoil hat on, sure, the Wuhan lab. Here's something about the Wuhan lab. Apparently, they only have like and again, I don't know a lot about this. I know a little bit of what I've researched, and from what I've read, they only have like a biosafety level of like 2, and in order to be working on airborne viruses like a COVID virus, you need to have like a biosafety level of like 4, and they were at 2, and they were working on a COVID. I don't know if that's 100% true. It's something I read, and if that's the case, that would obviously, you know, those tinfoil hats are probably going to start being more in number if that stuff starts coming out as like actual fact, you know, that they mishandled and they were doing things they weren't supposed to. But like, man, why not do this stuff way out in space? We need a space station, bro. You literally need like a space station to do this stuff.
Have a space station. We have a lot of space stations, but have you not seen all the space movies? What happens? Come on, man. I've seen enough science
put
fiction
them in
movies
space.
to know.
If you're gonna do this super virus research stuff, do it in space, away from the planet. That way, you can just hit eject on like.
And guess what? They're already ahead of you. Do you know that last year they sent like a couple hundred baby squid into space to see the effects? This is how Cthulhu happens. You want Cthulhu? This is how you get Cthulhu. They literally sent baby squid from Hawaii to space.
Octopi are really smart. I don't know if you've seen any of these videos on the internet of them like learning how to like
open. I said squid.
Yeah, I know, but they're relatives.
Yeah, but that's like saying humans and lemurs are relatives, but they're not the same.
Well, okay. So what happened? What happened with these squid? What happened with these? What happened with these squid? What happened?
I don't know. I'm waiting to see if I have a new overlord or not. You don't send squid into space.
Well, let them go figure out. What if they land on a new planet and they populate it, and then all of a sudden they become a neighbor planet and they can share resources with us? They're already pretty smart.
They come and slave us, and now we're slaves to the squid people.
You're attracting what you fear with that.
Do you think we've ever been visited by UFOs?
There was that report in 2017 of that object that entered our solar system, and then when it was detected, immediately left. Do you remember that?
That was like a comet or something that was
no.
No.
I don't think so. I think this was like an actual
UFO just means unidentified flying object. I fucking anything you see in the sky you don't know is a UFO. How about this? Do you think an intelligent life form from another place has visited our planet?
I think that so that listen, you talk about not going on tangents, guys. The whole idea was that we were not going to go off on tangents, but I'm just gonna say my thoughts about how the origins of human civilization. There are a lot of inconsistencies in the research that archaeological studies have found versus perhaps the research that genealogical studies have found, and you find traces of DNA across different parts of the planet that shouldn't be sort of related to one another, but they are. All of a sudden, you're asking, how is that possible? Perhaps there were technologies that were available to humans.
The Anunnaki right now.
What's that?
Are you going to talk about the Anunnaki right now?
Listen, it's a big conversation. Ultimately, it ends with Atlantis, and I think Atlantis was real. I love Atlantis. It's like my favorite thing ever. So I think beyond that, though, that's a tangent we don't need to go down right now.
This was real. We found it. It's in Western Africa. Look it up on Google Earth.
It's in Western Africa. It's called the Rakat structure. It's 23
circular thing.
Yep, it's 23 miles in diameter, left and right. Actually, the whole way around. Because it is a pretty good circle. And then they call it the eye of the Sahara is what they call it. So that way, when you're in a space station, speaking of,
I thought we weren't going on a tangent here.
It's like my favorite thing ever. Atlantis.
I understand, and I'm all about that shit too. But we got
the
listen,
younger Dryas.
Is this podcast just gonna be us talking about fucking like alternate reality? Are we gonna end this podcast with both being flat earthers?
The younger Dryas catastrophe around, I think it was 11,000 BC, led to the flooding of the plains in Western Africa into Mauritania into the Rakat structure, which was the flooding of Atlantis. That sent all of the peoples and the peopling across our globe. Anyway, that's a different conversation. You wanted to talk about Evergrande, right? Where was the natural segue between gain of function and Evergrande?
Oh, I mean, I was just thinking that we were talking about China. We're talking about things that are happening over there, things that are potential, and stuff that happens in China that has global effects. And it starts with we're talking about the Wuhan virus and COVID and how something starting over there had global effects. And now in the news right now, everybody who pays any attention to global finance and economics is talking about Evergrande.
All right. You sent me this link. It says Evergrande. 5 things to know about Evergrande, the Chinese business empire on the brink. Beyond, you just narrating this. What's going on with Evergrande? Why is it relevant to anybody that's listening to this that may not currently understand what it is?
Well, I mean, the TLDR for me is that Evergrande is basically the biggest real estate company and speculative real estate company in China. Now, you may say, well, how does that affect me? Well, let's just break it down. $300 billion in debt. $300 billion in debt. A lot of that debt comes from private investors and banks. Well, guess what? The government comes in and says, hey, listen, you can't take on any more debt. You need to shore it up. Well, they're like, well, hey, we can't finish building our structures right now. We need more debt to continue building it. There's a slowdown because of COVID, affordable housing. You guys as the government are putting a lot of restrictions on us. We can't do that. Well, that's a whole separate fight. But now all the people that they owe money to are like, hey, you owe us a monthly payment. We need our money. And they're like, we don't have the money. And now everybody's like, it's like a run on banks, but a run on the debt here. Everybody wants their money. You got literally old Chinese guys showing up to the headquarters saying, we want our money. And they can't make their payment. So what we're talking about is the largest real estate holding company in China and basically in Asia defaulting. And if they cannot come up with money or they can't get bailed out, this is going to collapse. And if it collapses, we're talking about banks going down. We're talking about private venture capitalists going down. We're talking about people with money going down. We're talking about outside investors going down. We're talking about government shakeups. I mean, the president of China has been talking about a black swan event for a while, and this may be it.
To put that
into a housing crisis.
To put that into context, the $300 billion in liabilities on their balance sheet is equivalent to like, correct me if I'm wrong, is that about the GDP of a country like Ireland?
Yeah. So small mid-sized countries, Ireland, depending on the potato harvest that year, Portugal, some of those other small to mid-sized countries. That's a lot of money. I mean, 300 billion sounds like nothing when we're talking about, debt ceilings and U.S. debt. But when you're talking about the size of an actual EU country or a NATO ally, that's a lot of money gone.
Why? So everyone keeps talking about the impacts and what's China going to do. And, there's this idea that global that China owns about 15% of the global debt and that they can call against that. And everyone's concerned that they might. And you say there's safeguards against it, obviously. But beyond that part of it, how does you said that they went from 23 billion in debt in 2019 to 300 billion in debt in 2021. How does that happen? Why are they borrowing so much? Is it pandemic? Obviously, it's probably pandemic related to an extent.
I mean, the government. The funny thing about the government, and not to get into a huge geopolitical conversation, but communist governments operate much differently than democratic or capitalistic governments. So, the government wants to have control. So the government is playing a double-edged sword here. So I don't know if the government is going to step in and bail them out or not, because we know that China right now is really going after big companies and big corporations. They're stopping corporations from getting bigger. They're doing antitrust. They're saying they're too big. They're not enough. They want control. They don't like the idea that these companies are getting so big that they actually have influence. The CCP wants to have control. So bringing it back to Evergrande, one of the things is that it's a double-edged sword. The government said, we want to make affordable housing for people. So they encouraged this massive build on giant, vertical apartment buildings that are affordable, and they get people into the housing, right? So they basically incentivize this massive explosion in real estate, but then halfway through are like, oh, by the way, we don't want you getting too far in debt, so you need to stop and you need to fix your debt before you go any further. But they're like, it's like a steamroll, like the ball's rolling down the hill. You don't stop that process.
So they bail out now. That's the move.
I don't know. I mean, the government, the China has been very, very, very big in the past of cutting off its own nose to spite its face. I mean, this goes back to before the current government. I mean, look what Mao Zedong did with the Great Leap Forward. It was like, hey, listen, we're gonna stop privatization of land and we're gonna make little communes, right? We're gonna make little communities where everyone works together and is for the people. Everyone's equal. They all work on farming and little, like, their little areas, and they're gonna do all this, and that led to famines, right? It literally killed upwards of 50 million people, and it was we're hurting for the future good, right? Like the government, the party, we know what's best for the people. And I wouldn't be surprised if China lets this fail and then uses it as a continued reason to go after big companies, or just takes over to privatize or takes it to the government anyways.
So it says, this CNN article says, how is it trying to move forward? It says, on Tuesday, Evergrande announced that it had brought on financial advisors. I'm assuming those are outside financial advisors, just people to come in and be like, hey,
I'm pretty sure they're probably government advisors.
Okay, yeah, it's just government, just more government coming in to try to puppeteer the situation, and they're trying to assess everything. And they say, while those firms are tasked with exploring all feasible solutions as quickly as possible, Evergrande has cautioned that nothing is guaranteed. So I guess we're going to see this unfold. This is probably going to be the biggest story next week. What's going on here?
Yeah, but I honestly, in my opinion, and this is just speculating, I think the government just steps in and says, okay, we're absolving the debt, we're taking it over.
There's a fear here, though, man. There's a real fear. And I think it has something to do with, obviously China, everybody has this idea, again, that China's, the stranglehold they have on global debt is real and is big. And at some point, they could use that, they could wield that to start, they could call on it, they could put pressure on the U.S., at some point, I think there's been like this kind of growing, at least out here in the U.S., there's been this idea that China's power is getting so great. At what inflection point do they like try to flex their might and flex their muscle? And I think for a story like this, people are going to watch because they think this might be it. This could be it.
I think there's two sides to that. Number one, I think that China is doing. I'm not sure if they're doing this because they see a big global pop coming and they're trying to get ahead of it right now, and they're trying to get the bleeding out now, so that way when everybody else pops, they actually grow faster and control more, or if they're just cannibalizing themselves for another reason. Now, as far as calling in debt, there's a misconception. Like a lot of talking points on certain, politically leaning sites will say, well, China owns all of our debt or Japan owns all of our debt. I think most people don't understand that actually almost all of the U.S. debt is owned by private citizens and corporations and the Federal Reserve. So that's actually not that big of not true. As far as China calling in the debt, they have more power by owning the debt than calling in the debt. Because once you call in the debt, if you get paid that debt, you now lose control. So the idea for China to in their debt right now would actually not help them. It would be better to call it in when a country's already hurting. Let's say there is a global catastrophe, and then they call in the debt, because right now the governments can pay for it because there's so much money being flown out there with the Federal Reserve pumping all this money. So I don't know. Now, my only concern is that we know everything is in a bubble right now. Everything's in a bubble. Equities are in a bubble. Real estate's in a bubble. I mean, look at the real estate market in any country, especially in Canada and New Zealand, right?
The Canadian housing there. Just so everyone knows, before we hit the record button, there was about a 20-minute tangent on the Canadian housing market related to this. I don't think we have time to cover that, but it's Stocky feels very passionately about it.
I guess you're gonna have to tune into the next episode to
episode
hear,
2. We can cover it. We can cover it then. There was also this Reddit post that got a lot of traction that was like it was basically like an explain like I'm 5 of the Evergrande situation. Was there? I feel like there was one point.
It's a CCP plant. I think it's a CCP plant. I think that's a government plant. Come on, man.
There was. Well, hold on. I'm gonna put this on the screen. Was there one on here that you felt? I feel like you read one of these. It says creditors now unwilling to accept their bonds and demanding payments. If Evergrande goes under, it will be the largest bulk real estate liquidation ever. It would also mean a real estate collapse of that scale would make other Chinese real estate developers, banks, and mortgage companies to crumble. China owns 15% of the world's debt. If they have internal crisis, they will pursue their debt aggressively. I feel like there was one of these that you felt really strongly against. Chance that Chinese government steps in, which seems likely, but if they don't, market conditions are effed. There's one of these.
The one thing that bothered me the most was the fact that it was the creditors now unwilling to accept their bonds and demanding payments. That's not the case. It's not that creditors are unwilling to accept bonds. It's that the CCP, the government, won't allow any more bonds to be issued because they did the 3 red lines. They're saying that they want all of these corporations and companies to get their debt in order and cap their debt. So the idea that someone wrote this, somebody named Peter Sun Young Ki wrote this and said creditors are now unwilling to accept their bonds and demanding payments. That's not true. It is, because we've seen this all around the world in a liquidity explosion around the world right now. Like we're seeing, people are willing to take on debt because they want to continue. Get more money. They want to turn their money into money. It's the government who is not allowing it, and that's what's causing this crisis. Now, the government's not causing the crisis. Obviously, the company over leveraging themselves caused it, but the government is the reason that it's gotten to the point it is, and so that is a CCP plant right there.
Invest in an altcoin or a shitcoin, create a false PR, release it, and then solve your economic problems overnight, right?
I mean, if you're, a YouTuber or a Twitch streamer, yeah.
Or if you...
come on, it's crypto right now. I mean, crypto, and I know I'm going to get a lot of shit from the crypto bros right now, okay? And I got to be very, very careful right now. Full disclosure, I'm heavily invested in
what?
Crypto mining and blockchain technology. However, the one thing that I don't like about crypto, I like the idea of crypto, I like the back end of crypto, and I like the fact that the future, crypto is super volatile, okay? I mean, the government is going after it so hard. Now, some people will say, well, that's because it's the government's afraid of people having economic freedom. Now, that is kind of true because obviously economics and finances control people. But also, crypto doesn't have any type of asset, no kind of value outside of, and once again, counter argument, well, neither does a dollar. True, but at least with that, there's a historical precedence and there is regulation and stuff like that. So we're seeing the former Federal Reserve Chair, Janet Yellen, who's now the Treasury Secretary, she hates it. The current SEC Chair also says it's a wild, wild west. And fun fact, he went in front of the Congress this week to talk about why there is a need for crypto regulation. Now, as far as regulation on crypto, the best thing about crypto is that it's not regulated. The worst thing about crypto is that it's not regulated. But you ready for tinfoil hat again?
Every time.
Okay, tinfoil hat's on. The day before the SEC chairman went and sat to testify before Congress about how crypto is way too volatile and it's wild, wild west and it's all, unregulated. There was a hoax that was perpetuated online that Walmart was going to be accepting Litecoin.
You know what's funny, and that's obviously why I brought that up. Is the fake press release, the spike in Litecoin value, and then it just completely
25% spike, and then immediately Walmart's like, it's not us, and
went immediately
25% down.
You know what's funny? Look at this. So obviously it was a fake press release that was published on a credible newswire. But if you search like Walmart Litecoin here in the news section of Google, here I'm gonna put this up on the screen. You can't see it, but they still have. There's like a little. Like on the yield for the Google search, it still says Walmart announces major partnership with Litecoin for Globe Newswire, but if you click on it, it says that page doesn't exist. But it's still being pulled up in the SEO for the for that press release. It's amazing.
I'm not saying causation is correlation, but that's a hell of a coincidence. The day before the SEC chairman goes to talk about why it needs to be regulated.
Tinfoil hat time. Tinfoil hat time. But also, really, I mean, it's just like what you said. The best and the worst part is that it's unregulated. Who even said this? Where did this come from? For anyone that doesn't know, this happened last week. This says it was 5 days ago. They put up some press release got circulated on Globe Newswire that said Walmart was going to invest in Litecoin. Now that's like the holy grail, right? That's like I feel like, or not invest, make it available, right? It wasn't
it's available to use for payment.
Yes, it wasn't a conversion of cash into Litecoin on the balance sheet. It was actually going to be a retail ready form of payment at the store level, and that is like the holy grail of crypto. Like when that can happen, like any coin, right? It's like I feel like everyone says Ether is the one that's most likely to be like conversion ready at a retail level. Whatever, I don't really know. All I know is that is like the holy grail, and because people saw that it spiked, it was all fake, and then it came back down. Hey, where does that even come from? It
can't happen. That's the problem. The way that crypto is right now, it can't be used in a transactional way at a large scale, because there's a reason why outside of Elon being a memer with Tesla, there's a reason why no one allows purchases at large scales to be in crypto. Because I mean, think about it. You are a business, right? You own a coffee business. Now here's your problem. If you accept crypto for payment of your products, and you get that payment, and crypto goes up the next day, you made money, right? Without doing anything. But what if crypto drops 10% the next day?
We lost money without doing anything.
Lost money. More importantly, you now have to pay your manufacturers of your coffee and your cans and your deliveries in crypto. You may be paying them the next day when crypto is super high, or maybe super low, and they're not accepting your payment. There's no when a currency can change 10% in a day, no supply chain can support that. So the best thing about crypto is that it's unregulated, but the worst thing about crypto in its current form is that it's unregulated. There's no stability.
I want to accept any crypto that your chat has made me invest in with my meme stock portfolio. I want to accept any of those. We won't. But I want to.
Imagine if Madrinas came out and said we're accepting Dogecoin for purchases.
If it goes down the way
page news, you would make more money by the publicity than you would lose on Dogecoin going down to 5 cents.
And that's all this all is right now, man. Crypto is so hype. I think I believe in crypto long term as an investor, but I don't really know anything about crypto. I think there's going to be a lot of people that make a lot of money on crypto. I'm not going to be one of them, just because I don't know anything about it. But man, it's in this stage, it's so much hype. It is so much hype. Literally a press release, and that thing went up so that the value.
I got a clickbait title for something. Is Madrinas accepting Dogecoin?
The Walmart Litecoin troll could face major criminal charges if busted. See, there's another thing. Where was this person? Where were they?
Get this person. What are they gonna do? Well, you posted fake news, okay?
And also, like, are they in a country without extradition?
Who knows? They're probably behind 6 fucking proxy servers.
Yeah, like even if they do find them, like where the hell could this person be?
They're probably in like Belarus or some shit.
Yeah, I mean, it's not regulated, so I mean, I guess you could come down on them for the fake press release. But isn't Globe Newswire also? I mean, like, isn't the actual Wire responsible for that as well? They have people that are like manually
considered a publisher or a platform. That's the whole thing going on with Twitter, Facebook, Google. The whole thing with Congress right now is them fighting to see if their platforms are publishers, because everybody wants to be treated as a platform but get the autonomy of a publisher. I mean, everybody wants to have their cake and eat it too.
Yeah, I mean, all I know is that
unless you're TikTok and everybody's fucking vandalizing bathrooms at schools.
Really, all I do know about crypto is that when I invested in it for the meme stock portfolio, I invested at 5 cents, like literally the next week, and it shot up to what did it shoot up to? 70 cents?
70 cents a piece, yeah.
70 cents.
I'm in from I had
Hold on, do you have the screen grab? Please send me the screen grab of what. You know what I'm talking about. You had a screen grab of when you had it, and it was like you had like I don't know, $1,000 in it, and then it was all at like 0.00
at a half a cent, and I sold it and only kept $11, and my $11 turned into $1,700. So if I would have kept my $1,000 in, it would have been $175,000 I would have had. So
would you have diamond hands that thing all the way, or would you just be like,
yeah, because I forgot I even had it. Because it's in a Robinhood account. Like for example, I'll show it to you here.
Yeah.
Dogecoin has come down all the way back to 24 cents, but because I diamond hands this $11, I'm still up 4,734 cents.
Send me the link.
I'm sorry, percent. It's right there in the story ideas.
Is that where you put it? Okay. Let me pull this up.
So I'm still up 4,734%. My $11 is still at $578, but that it was at one point worth $1,100, or something like that, like $1,700. Like my $11 turned into $1,700 because I just forgot about it. But and I'll show you the screen grab because this is what you want to see. This is what you really want to see. This is tomorrow.
This one's good. Obviously, that's good. But I want to. Yeah, this is the one I want to see.
Where is it? Market sell. Here we go. Oh God, this hurts just to do. Here you go. 144,000 I sold at half a cent.
This is the winner.
$11.
This is the winner. Like, I want to get this like framed. This is so good. I mean, I wish you would have made all this money, but like also this market sell. This is the winner.
Thanks.
This is the winner.
I look forward to the next.
I wish you could have made this cash. Honestly, I do. But come on, this is the best. Everyone feels this, man. This is
why I tell people to just diamond hands. Like, here's another one, right? So let me give you this one here. This is one I played solar heavy a couple years ago, and I still play solar, but I was playing it really heavy a couple years ago. And I was playing in Solar Edge, and I was a big fan of Solar Edge at the time. And so here you go. I stop lossed out of this right here because I decided not to diamond hands it because I just was messing around. I sold 150 shares at $39.38. It's currently sitting at $300.
I think you just sent me the same thing. Oh no, here it is. Here we go.
This is Solar Edge. This is Solar Edge history. This is what I was playing solar. I bought it $36 and I stopped it at $39, and it's currently sitting at $300 a share. Ooh. So
this is back in 2018 though, man. You got to hold for a long time for that to hit.
Well, I mean, the greatest bull run in history the last couple of years, of course. Everything ran up.
All right, so between crypto, between Evergrande, between gain of function and the vaccine conversation, that's really like you know, we're trying not to be too tangential here, and I did the discipline on that, and getting through everything was great. Is there anything on any of those topics that you feel like we did not cover before we start getting to other quick hitters?
I mean, the only thing I think that is a good conversation, and it's something we're gonna have to follow over the while. Is, speaking of real estate and whatnot, is the eviction moratorium. I mean, I think people forgot about this. I think people have totally forgotten that this eviction moratorium has ended, and that it's being extended, but then it's being challenged and whatnot like that. And if it does go, there's a backlog, and it's going to take a long time for people to get the evictions through. But I think people are forgetting that we're talking about 11 million people at risk of being outed of their place. And
where are we at with the moratorium right now? If any, just so anyone that's listening, can you give like a literally like a 60-second recap of the past few months?
So eviction and moratorium free. So basically, for the past year and a half, people weren't allowed to be evicted even if they couldn't pay, and people who couldn't pay mortgages to the banks couldn't be foreclosed on. However, it doesn't mean that they were forgiven. It just means they had to back pay later on. So that came to an end. Then it was extended, and then there was a case that was brought before the Supreme Court that said, hey, this is unconstitutional. You can't tell private owners that what they can and can't do with their homes, because there's no guarantee that they're going to get payment. So then the Supreme Court said, you're right, it is unconstitutional, but we're going to let it extend or expire with the CDC at the end of July. So everybody was happy. End of July came. Expiration happened. All of a sudden, everybody's freaking out. Then the government steps back in again and says, no, we're going to extend it again in places that are high risk of transmission of COVID cases. So that extended 95% of people again. But that went against the Supreme Court ruling. So they just say it was unconstitutional. So now there's a court battle going on, and that's where we're at with it right now. The reason for the extension, though, is because states who were supposed to have $50 billion to give out to renter assistance are only 5% through giving out the money. Like they haven't given out any of the money. So it's about getting that money out to people before it's too late.
Here's an article from Yahoo Finance. It says, we need to have an end of the moratorium in New York. The Rent Stabilization Association president said that. Apparently, it's in quotes. New York boasts some of the strongest tenant joining us now. No. Where was I just read a sentence that was valuable here. The country filed a motion in a state appeals court to prevent enforcement to the new law. So I guess all this is really just like taking shape right now, and it's just so bogged down in courts. It seems like
it's going to be bogged down in courts for a while. And even when the eviction moratorium is over, it's still going to take forever, because these you can only have the local sheriff come in and evict people. So that's going to take a long time. The process is going to take a long time. It's not going to happen quickly, but if it does happen, it's going to be a problem. And also, a lot of it's going to come down to states too, because this comes down to property rights again, right? Like it comes down to circle back to the beginning of the podcast, where we were talking about personal rights. Like, you are the owner of a home. You bought that home and you purchase it. It's your private property. You're renting it out. Someone can't pay it. Do you have the right to kick them out? And normally people would say yes, but during a global pandemic, people say, well, that's not humane and that's not good. Okay, great. You're right. But who is going to compensate that landlord for all of the money that they're not going to get paid? Because they're probably using that money to pay back the bank on the loan that they have. Half people will say, well, get rid of them. The other half will say, well, they shouldn't have taken that investment, because when you take an investment, you know it's risky and you knew the risks you were taking. Not true, though, because when you did that, global pandemics changed things. So it's a huge conversation of fuck landlords or screw the private, the people. It's a private investment. However, I don't think a lot of the people who say screw landlords and take down landlords understand how bad it could get if privatized landlords disappear.
Yeah, of course. We need privatized landlords.
Because if not, large corporations like our own version of Evergrande, but times 10, BlackRock, it's going to come in, swoop up all of these homes, all of these homes and apartment buildings, and then jack up the rent and just make a crap load of money. And guess what? Instead of calling mom and pop, landlord and say, hey, I have a leaky faucet, can you fix it? Yeah, we'll send somebody over tomorrow. It's call up, wait, go through the automated system, hit the button, leave a message, which then gets back 2 weeks later to an outsourced property management company, who then takes a week to find the cheapest contractor to come out and maybe fix it, maybe not. It's going to be a disaster.
In between the hours of 8 a.m. and 9 p.m. 2 Thursdays from now. Just make sure you're at home.
And also the rent goes up. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
So in light of the Supreme Court decision, the state went back and reenacted the moratorium, this time to January 15th of 2022, which is almost 2 years since the last opportunity for owners to be able to collect rent. Man, I feel like so much of that pressure, and I don't know, man, I'm not like an economist. I just am a business owner. I am an entrepreneur, and I'm whatever, just a guy that has an opinion. But like, if we were going to bring the greatest economy this world has ever seen to a screeching halt, almost, whatever, like that at the end of this moratorium, it would be, almost 2 years prior. Like, I feel like there should have been not a half pause, but like a full pause, all the way back to like notes that were like due to the bank. Like, everybody should have been given like a 90-day pause. I mean, because we obviously we tried to do the right thing from the community level and stay safe and quarantine and stay inside. But I mean, I feel like there was still so many financial obligations that were not put on pause, but some were. So it was just whatever. There's no precedent for this, like for the people that are alive right now. No one knows how to handle a pandemic, but it felt like a half pause, man. All this feels like a half pause. It doesn't even feel like a full pause.
You kind of had to because you're talking about something that's unprecedented. Nobody knew how to react because it had never happened since the Spanish
1920 or 1919 or whatever that was.
We didn't have a global economy like we do now. So the question is what do you do now? I know that there are arguments on both sides. The first side was, you know what, fuck it, let's rip the Band-Aid off. There's a certain percentage of people that are going to die. Let them die. Everyone herd immunity, and we'll move on, just like every time we've had another plague or another pandemic in history. The other side was, we need to shut down everything to protect this 0.2% of people because it's not worth one life. So there was a huge thing going on right there, and nobody knew how to react, and everyone thought they were doing what's best, and it just happens. So every time something happens, everyone has the best of intentions but doesn't go about it. And you had the haves and have-nots. You had the people who were thriving, and I mean, full disclosure, my business thrived during COVID.
Yeah, at home, people working from home resulted in more eyeballs for your live content daily.
Yeah, so I was happy with the shutdown from a business standpoint, but at the same time, I got cabin fever and I want to get the fuck out of the house. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, it's a double-edged sword. So, it depends on where you land on this. I mean, the rich got richer for a reason during this pandemic. I mean, it just is what it is. I mean, billionaires became multi-billionaires.
Dude,
billionaires
tinfoil hat time. I heard a lot of people like in the investment world, and I'm not saying anybody specifically. I mean, whatever. It's just I just heard a lot of like murmuring in 2019 of people that were that you could definitively classify as the haves. A lot of people saying, oh, there's an incoming recession. There's going to be a recession. There's a recession soon. The overhang on debt right now is too large. There has to be a correction. Like everybody kind of referenced, I shouldn't say everybody, a lot of people in that sort of investment world were like, you just heard this thing about an incoming recession. Like, what the hell? What are you talking about? How do you know? Like, what
every 6 months somebody says that because eventually they're going to be right.
Eventually they will, but I mean, this time it was like a lot of people at once. And it probably was because the 2019 economy was just so incredible. I mean, that's like got to be the greatest economy, like I said before, that the world has ever seen. It was amazing, man. Everything was just humming. But of course, now here we are, and
look how quickly that recovery, especially from a market standpoint. I mean, the market dropped 25%. I mean, that was on par. We were on par with going into 2008. Then out of nowhere, Fed just said, all right, 0% interest rates. We're going to pump this full of money. And we just filled that hole with money. And now we just keep running. The stock market has gone 100% in the last year. The average over the last 50 years is 7% a year. 100% from the bottom.
So the rich got richer, right?
Oh, 100%.
Hold on. I'm going to pull up a picture.
I mean, look at Elon Musk. I mean, the Tesla stock. I mean, the dude, is worth $100 billion now. I mean, he was worth, a couple billion a few years ago.
I'm gonna pull up a picture. I'm gonna send this to you also because I don't think you can see it right now. But here's what I have right now. Rich got richer. That is Jeff Bezos using all of that 28% increased net worth to go fly off to space, baby. There he goes.
His penis rocket.
Who else? It was Branson also, right?
Branson was the one who wanted to undercut him. So Branson decided, you know what? I am going to take the headlines away and I'm going to go into space before him and I'm going to rush this. And he did, but there was a big argument because he only went to a certain level where a lot of people, the Air Force and everybody like that and the FAA don't consider it technically space. So though he went into space, he didn't go high enough. So he stole the headlines of being the first to go to space, but then, Bezos went higher. And now we have literally in this moment, as this is being filmed above us, we have 4 private individuals, non-astronauts, who are circling the Earth, and they went up in a. I saw the videos from it. It's awesome too. I know everybody's gonna be like, "Well, that's fake. That ain't real. That's CGI. They showing us the."
What is the accent right there? Why does that have to be the accent?
Because those are generally the accents of the people that I'm from the South. Okay,
that's not. Why you should have done a different accent. What about like a I don't know. What about like a French accent or like an Australian accent?
The Earth is flat. It is not round. It is actually short. Give the one to the baby, so the baby drink at night, and I smoke the cigarette. If the Earth was round, the smoke would circle, but it goes straight up, like as though I was standing on a cut baguette.
This is the formal training from his days getting ready for his big gig of Captain America, which we're all very sad that it didn't pan out. You would have done a great job. I also think that French accent was really good. This was the space.
They do the French Canadian if you want to do a real baguette. The French Canadians, they have the deep accent. They come to Florida.
What'd you call it? The SpaceX. It was the SpaceX Inspiration 4. I was seeing some
Inspiration 4. That's the one that's going on right now. So you have 4 people. One is a billionaire who raised $100 million for St. Jude. One of the ladies is a nurse practitioner, I believe, from St. Jude. Another is somebody who won it in a raffle, and the other is a lady engineer who becomes the first black female pilot. And they actually made history because they have gone further from Earth than anyone since the Apollo missions. They're actually further out than the International Space Station.
This says SpaceX's private Inspiration 4 astronauts will return to Earth tonight, and you can watch it live. This is recorded on Saturday, September 18th. So when everybody hears this in a day or two from now, 2 or 3 days, whenever we get a chance to post this will have already happened. But SpaceX
should have 2 reactions. If it comes in, we should be like, heck yeah, that's awesome, man. Look, it opens it up. And the other one will be like, oh no.
After 3 days in space, SpaceX's first all-civilian crew will return to Earth tonight with a splashdown off the Florida coast to end a mission like no other in history. Real quick, though, do you have the Bezos? I sent you that link, right?
I just see the images.
You see the image? You see the one of him looking over his left shoulder, looking at the
penis?
Yeah, looking at it. This is like, this right here is like, they should just put like, this is where all of like the sub money on Twitch goes to. Like they take half the cut. The other half is so that way Bezos can have his space penis right here, blast him off into outer space. You know what he needs to do? He needs to use this to go up into the space, outer space land, and that's where we start doing all of our super virus work.
If you look at the other picture, him and the rocket actually look a lot alike.
Oh God, which one? I think they all. I mean, I think it's all. This one. You can't see what I'm clicking, I don't think.
I'll show you this.
Here's a picture of Branson and Bezos looking at their rockets. Man, I think I read that he increased his net worth 28% during COVID, and it went to this. Oh my God, look at this picture. Hold on. I'm going to pull it up. Oh my God. All right.
I'm so glad this is not on Twitch right now.
All right, take me through. We have a couple quick hitters. Talk about the Apple versus Epic Games lawsuit.
Big. I mean, this is part of the reason that the market's going down. I mean, we've got the market going down, because of Chinese worries and Evergrande and other things like that. But Apple, this is huge. I mean, we're talking massive implications here. Now, I did a YouTube video, not to plug my own shit, but I did my YouTube video last year.
Oh, your own. This is your podcast.
Apple,
this is our podcast. You
Apple
plug whatever you want.
versus Epic, and it turned out true. I mean, we're talking, Epic has to pay back Apple for all the money and whatnot, but the judgment, which will be appealed, basically says that Apple can't monopolize payments through their system, and that if that happens, you're talking about billions and billions of dollars that are going to be lost by Apple and even Google if this sets precedent. So This is massive. I mean, Apple makes up between 6 to 7% of the entire S&P 500. It's a massive market cap, and it's been bleeding for the last couple of days. I mean, it's been hitting people hard. So this is going to be big. It's going to be huge. I mean, obviously, this is coming off the heels of China also banning video games, which is huge for Twitch. I mean, you got to think about this. They're banning, and they already did this last year where they were limiting 90 minutes per week for video games and 30 minutes per day for like certain other things. But they're banning the sale of video games, the use of video games, and video game playing all together, and allowing like an hour a week because they want productivity to come back and they want the government to have more control. Think about something like Twitch, right? Think about how many people over there are competitive gamers, but more importantly, how many people over there watch gaming. I mean, this is massive implications for Twitch,
huge,
for YouTube
man.
gaming. It's huge. I mean, this is a massive market, and companies like Activision and whatnot who are investing heavily over there. It's
China
huge.
bans kids from playing online video games during the week. This is a CNN article. It says China has barred online gamers under the age of 18 from playing on weekdays and limited their play to just 3 hours most weekends, marking a significant escalation of restrictions on the country's massive gaming industry. This is literally like parent rules. Growing up, it was
Welcome to communism.
It was like growing up, you don't have good grades. No, the first thing that was taken away was video games. Always. Like, oh, you're not studying enough. Oh, your teacher says that they've had to put you in the hall because you're talking in class too much. Video games, it's out. This is now the government comes in and says, nope, you can't have it anymore.
It's mama and daddy. And I mean, what are they going to do when they go off to college? I mean, it's like they're going to, if they go to college, I mean, China's already reversed their one child policy because they're running out of population, right? So then they're going in there, and China has what they call the 4-2-1 problem with one person, one kid taking care of parents and two sets of grandparents. But, in the United States, we don't, we obviously, you don't do that. You put your parents or grandparents in some kind of home. But speaking of college,
I feel like growing up, video games for me were what kept me away from, and granted, whatever, I was a nerd, whatever, but like it kept me away from like, smoking pot or drinking, like doing all the partying. I feel like that's the thing that kept me away because I was just gaming all the time. I played Halo like 12 hours a day.
It must be nice to have had a TV and a video game console.
Oh, and no friends. Thank you. Thank you.
I didn't have those either. I lived in a fucking shack in a jungle in Hawaii.
You played Halo. You told me all about your Halo days.
I went in the military when I was 20 years old.
You told me all about how you run it up on Halo 1 and 2. You loved it.
I went to the military instead of college, and I still ended up drinking. But
and playing Halo.
That was back before weed was getting legalized. And I don't know, I know I sent it to you yesterday. Did you check up on that article? So no joke, everybody's talking about weed, everybody's talking about pot, everybody's talking about legalization, stuff like that. But the crazy thing is that as legalization is turning around, what we're seeing right now is, and that's the article I sent you, if you want to pull it up.
I'm looking for it now.
It's showing that college kids now are significantly decreasing alcohol consumption and significantly increasing their pot smoking. So it's like the 60s all over again, right? It's like the 60s all over again, but in a good way, right? Like, so instead of fuck the government, it's more of a, hey, we're finally allowed to do this. And I'll tell you what, I have a feeling that certain types of things on campuses and bad decision making is going to go down, because I don't know too many people that get high on weed and go, streaking and, just doing vandalism and destroying shit. I just feel like for me, it's going to be great for Uber Eats. I mean, they're going to get a huge increase in revenue, and a lot more people eating pizza and chilling on the couch. I mean, I think it's a positive.
My sophomore year at college was no alcohol. It was, I would just, at night, just hang out, relax, and play some FIFA, man. That's what it was. Doing just having some fun, ordering some cookies for delivery. That's what it was in college. This Washington Post says college students reported record high marijuana use and record low drinking in 2020. Pot up, beer down, vodka down, marijuana way up. I mean, that's got to be good.
I mean, let's be honest. I mean, marijuana's not, perfect, but compared to binge drinking, I would say it's a significant improvement. It's like me when I went from smoking to vaping. I got my lung capacity back. I got healthier. I stopped coughing and stuff like that. But, you just said FIFA. Did I ever tell you what happened to me with GameFly and FIFA?
GameFly, isn't that like the Netflix for video games?
It was, yeah. It might still be out there. So I got GameFly, and this is why one thing about subscription models. I love subscription models. It's why gyms do so well. People sign up for things and they forget about it by the time they get hit with their payment, or they just forget about it and they don't pay attention. So I signed up for GameFly because I had a friend of mine who was visiting, who was from South America originally, and he loved soccer, right? Or football, depending on where you're listening to this. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to sign up for this GameFly thing. I'm going to get FIFA sent to me, and we'll play it on my Xbox. So I signed up for GameFly. I got FIFA sent to me. We played like 2 games. I sucked at it. I didn't play it. I didn't like soccer. I didn't watch soccer. It was whatever. We forgot about it. Took the game, left it in the console. Didn't play for a long time. Forgot all about it. Ended up moving. Never played video games again. I look into my bank account, because I don't check it that often, and I saw a charge from GameFly. And these sons of bitches, because I forgot about it, I paid $17.99 a month for 3 years for that FIFA game.
Get out of here. 3 years?
$17.99 for 3 years.
Let me do a quick $17.99 times 36. $650. That's the most expensive video game in the entire history of the world. $650. What game was it?
And I had to send it back, or they were going to charge me $39.99 for it.
What was even after they already collected $650 from you? What was the game?
FIFA.
It was FIFA? Oh my God, man.
And I didn't even play it. I played it 2 games on it in one night and forgot about it.
That's freaking incredible.
I can't remember. No, I don't remember if I sent the game back or not, but I just left the subscription open, and that was it.
I read, or I shouldn't say I read. I did a case study on AOL, and AOL's business, like they stayed and like they stayed at like 2 million subscribers forever because it was people that just forgot to not have their AOL subscription, just like what you're talking about. They still
have an AOL account.
Do you pay for AOL?
No.
But I mean, there was like for the longest, I don't know if it's still at 2 million, but for the longest time, they were just holding like a 2 million subscriber number. I think this is right. It has
to be defunct by now.
I'm sure it is now, but I mean, like this was, I read this like
you remember when they used to send those little discs to you?
AOL
in the mail?
No, I never had AOL.
Okay, so before your time, probably, they used to send these 30-day free subscription trial discs of AOL, like CDs, to you, and they would send them to you like all the time. Like they would just never stop sending them to you, so that you would, put it in and download it, and then get hit with a subscription model. Like there were hundreds of those.
What is AOL now, bro? AOL is. I just went to their website, AOL.com. Are they even accepting subscriptions anymore? Like I don't even see like an e-commercial function. I don't see an e-commercial function here. I just see like a news. This looks like Yahoo.
Yeah, that's basically what it is. It's just a conglomerate site now.
I wonder if they're literally just like have all these like legacy subscriptions.
I just went to AOL.com for the first time in 25 years.
Yeah, same. That's what we're looking at right now. I mean, it's got a podiatrist approved shoes are 45% off at Amazon. What does AOL become? Belichick responds to question with 10-minute lecture.
It looks like a bad mix of like Google and BuzzFeed.
It literally, this is amazing. I never even would have ever thought to do this.
Horoscope. What's your sign?
I was born August 2nd. That's Leo.
All right, let's look at apparently on the front page they have a daily horoscope. Here you go. An obligation or matter at home might take up all your energy today. Perhaps a family member or roommate decides to cause some drama, or maybe you intend to have a nice, quiet evening at home and it turns out to be anything but.
Nebraska.
It can be difficult to find perspective when you're thrown into this kind of energy, but it'll help to realize that you aren't the only one with an opinion at the moment and everyone is just trying to be heard.
First off, I usually don't listen to my own opinion because I'm usually wrong about most things. And second off, that horoscope is probably right. Nebraska plays Oklahoma today. And it's going to be a really, really, really emotionally volatile day for my entire family because we're going to get.
It sounds like, a family member or roommate decides to cause some drama, or maybe whatever. But it's going to be a learning experience, and you're going to learn to realize that other people can have an opinion and should be heard, and not just what you think.
Stocky, what are you doing the rest of this Saturday, September 18th?
What am I doing the rest of the day? I am going to let my poor wife go back and take a nap because she was up all night with the baby teething, and I'm going to take over for with the baby. I am then going to sign some contracts. I am going to maybe clean up a little bit, and not sure. Kind of ad-libbing today.
Watch the Nebraska-Oklahoma game. It's going to be on. We're going to get destroyed. if you want to watch football. There's also amazing football on tomorrow.
I get to see the Jaguars get dragged again.
Yeah, I like y'all's receiver though, Laviska Shenault, man. I like it for fantasy. I like Laviska a lot. If you, you're not doing fantasy this year, but if you did, I would tell you to get your boy Laviska Shenault. Also, I think
DJ Chark's going to have a better year because everyone's going to be paying attention to the Shenault after the first couple weeks, especially with the check down. And then what's his name? The other guy we picked up, not Jones, Marvin Jones.
Yeah, no, Marvin Jones Jr. from Detroit.
Yeah, he had a good game. So I think that what's going to do is that's going to open up the field, and I think Chark is going to have a lot of downfield. I saw him and Lawrence trying to hook up for a lot of downfield long shots, and other than Lawrence throwing some bad passes, the ones that came to Chark, he got him. So I think Chark is going to have the big season again because everyone is going to be focusing on those other two check down because, Lawrence is new. He's going to be, checking down a lot. He's going to be making mistakes and trying to get to the safe routes. But when he does finally get once a game or twice a game, when he actually gets a pocket when the O-line doesn't collapse, I think he's going to be taking a lot of shots downfield, and I like Chark for that. I think Chark's yard per carry is going to be huge.
Did you see that USC fired Clay Helton, their coach?
I haven't watched USC since Pete Carroll was
USC fired Clay Helton, and why that's relevant is because there's a Pac-12 network contract that's going to be up for renegotiation, and that's the biggest brand in the Pac-12. Pac-12 viewership has been down. West Coast college football has been down, and they need to make a splash higher. The entire conference needs USC to make a splash higher. Everybody and their mom are talking about Urban leaving Jacksonville. Now, I think he came out and said that that's not going to happen, but listen, Nick Saban did the exact same thing when he was with Miami. He literally said at a press conference, I'm not leaving Miami for the Alabama job. And for the past 13 years, he's owned college football in the Alabama job.
If Jacksonville goes fucking 1-15 again, Urban's gone. He'll go.
Yeah, he'll go. And he needs listen.
I'm better at college than this.
It's college. He knows the game. He knows how to recruit. He did it at Ohio State. He took that SEC pipeline, did it in Columbus. They need him in USC. College football needs Urban Meyer at USC more than the NFL needs Urban in Jacksonville. But it's okay. You didn't care. You weren't an Urban fan. I said I was all excited for you guys when you got Urban. You weren't even that yoked about it.
Because we go through coaches like we go through fucking underwear, dude. It's just horrible. I mean, we had Tom Coughlin, who was great in the beginning because it was 90s football when you could get away with that before the NFLPA had all that thing. So back then you could be militaristic and you wouldn't get backlash from your team. So the 90s we had Tom Coughlin, that was good. Until then Jack Del Rio took over. Jack Del Rio was great at defense, but didn't know what the hell he was doing with offense. Plus they had Byron Leftwich and David Garrard at quarterback. So I mean, even though I thought Garrard was great, then you had all these coaches are just not. They're just not. It's not. Jacksonville is not built for success. I think it's an ownership issue. I think Shad Khan cares more about it's football and building his soccer team overseas, and his son is an idiot. So I think it's an ownership issue, and I think that they don't really care there. But it is whatever. It is what it is. But what we think? I think we need another App State upsetting Michigan State shakeup in college football world.
Well, we just had one the other day when Florida State went down, but obviously Florida State wasn't really ranked that high. They almost lost. They're 0-2, so I guess that's not of that scale. You're right. We need one where it's like a top 5 team or a top 6 team goes down, because those are the freaking best, man. That App State game was the absolute best.
Dude, the ending to the App State Michigan was the greatest game ever, and I grew up there, so everybody I knew was in college. It was 2008, right? 2008, 2007.
2007. It was the first week of the 2007 season. It was.
So like, a lot of people I went to school with were seniors at App State at that time, and so like everybody was losing their shit that day.
I'm going to pull it up just so everyone can see it. I'm gonna pull it up. We're gonna go back to this. I was doing the outro, but let's have everyone see this beauty. Look at this play right here. No. That was the field goal. Where's the block? Right here. There's the block, and then there's the return, man. There's the block, and then there's the return. That was 14 years ago now.
Feel old yet?
My line of the week, and obviously people are going to be able to see how this pans out, because this is going to come out after the games. But man, Colts -3.5. Colts plus 3.5. Rams are -3.5 favorites over the Colts. The Colts Rams game is the one that I think, man, a well coached team like the Colts, are going to bounce back and be competitive against the Rams. I don't think you have a line.
My upset of the week last week was Cincinnati, and they did do the upset. So I'm going to have to take a upset of the week pick. Who do we have playing? Let me take a look here at the lines. We have what day is that? 9/18. So let's take a look here.
Yeah, 9/8
lines week 2.
9/18.
All right, so we have Bears over Bengals. Bears are -2.5. We've got Cleveland -13 against the Texans. You got LA favored against the Colts. You got Buffalo favored over Miami. You have New England big favorites over the Jets. San Francisco favored over the Philadelphia Eagles. I think if I had to take one on the line this week, just based off of this, ooh, this is a tough one.
You're picking your line of the week.
Yeah.
What was the Bears? What were the Bears again?
Bears are -2.5 to the Bengals.
-2.5 to the Bengals. I mean, honestly, the Bears didn't look. I mean, I'm a Bears fan, so whatever. I'm not even going to say anything out loud.
I don't bet on my team anymore.
No, I'm not even going to say anything.
You know what you know what I would take? I would take Miami to upset Buffalo. I think that's a massive upset. And if I had to pick an upset of the week, I would say Miami at with the -3.5. I think that the line. I think Miami either wins or loses by a field goal. I think it's a tough fought game, and I think that Miami. I
would take the under on that, but my rule is life's too short to bet the under, so I would not take the under. But I think it's gonna. I wouldn't actually put money on it, but I think they're gonna be well under 48.5. I could be whatever. You know the best part about this?
47.5 here.
You have 47.5. Either way,
yeah.
Best part about this, when people listen, the results are already gonna be in. They can hear how wrong or right we were. All right, man. Anything else?
I mean, that's it for today. I mean, we hit a lot of stuff. We were all over the place, but I think we kept it together. I think there's a lot of other stuff we could have hit on. My biggest thing, and I think we could talk about this next time, is for those of you guys that want to hear it, a little teaser about the woolly mammoth.
Yeah, we definitely do. We need some Jurassic Park stuff going down. We need to talk about that next time.
For those of you guys who are aware of Jurassic Park and want to look into this to get ready for next week, the woolly mammoth may be making a comeback. It looks like some scientists are taking some frozen DNA from some fossils of woolly mammoths and going to be splicing those genes with some present-day Asian elephants to reintroduce a hybrid woolly mammoth into the Arctic for the first time in 10,000 years. What could possibly go wrong?
We need to dedicate 10 minutes to that next time. Find some good video, some rich video content that we can watch together. We need a woolly mammoth back in this world. That's like the one animal that and the saber-toothed tiger. I should say those are the two that when you hear their
why do we need a saber-toothed tiger back in the world?
A saber-toothed tiger would be so cool, man. Are you kidding me?
No. See, and this you're the son of a gun who said earlier today we shouldn't be messing with nature. Every time we try to make things up, it turns out bad.
I never said that, but I do.
6,000-pound tiger because it's cool.
Listen, I never said that we always mess things up. I just say we attract what we fear. Send that stuff to space. Send that stuff to space. I don't fear.
You want to bring back the saber-toothed tiger and send it to space?
Not because I'm scared of it, man. I think saber-toothed tigers look kind of cool.
You're not scared of it because it's not sitting outside your house right now.
Because it's not real. But hopefully these companies that are making the woolly mammoth come back can do things like that. Woolly mammoth coming back would be the coolest thing. Are you kidding me? Let that thing live and flourish again?
That's the coolest thing. You're bringing it back right before the fucking Arctic melts. Like, that's just stupid.
Woolly mammoths and saber-toothed tigers. It's what this world needs more of. All right. Anything else you want to touch on, or are we out?
No, man. I guess that's it for the week. I mean, I think that's a full hour right there. We got jam-packed.
A little more, too.
That was fun. And for those of you guys that are listening for your first time, thank you for tuning in. This was a lot of fun. This is just going to get better and just get a little side of me and Alex that you don't see normally. And
follow Stocky on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube. Follow myself on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, everything. Stocky and I are both live in the mornings, Monday through Friday on Twitch. If you're hearing this on YouTube or whatever, and you've never had a chance to swing by, come say hi every morning. I'll be really nice. Stocky might ban you for 10 minutes, but just know it's a part of the culture there. It means
timeout.
It means you're loved. It just means you're loved. Okay. Where's the blood map been, by the way?
It's been busy.
Yeah, you got to bring the blood map back, man. That was everything.
I will, but now I have sponsors and shit.
Guys, this was episode 1 of the Stock Guy and Alex Show, a brand new podcast that covers topics around the world, business, news, markets, money, sports. If people are talking about it, so are we. The Stock Guy and Alex Show can be watched, listened to, and viewed on YouTube. It can also be downloaded and listened to wherever podcasts are downloaded. Follow the show on Twitter, Insta, LinkedIn, TikTok, and all the major socials for clips, moments, and information about new episodes. For now, guys, this is going to be an every other week production. So Stocky and I, every other Saturday, we'll get together for about an hour just to cover things just like we did today. The hope is in the future we can make this thing a weekly production, but we want to get a few episodes underneath us first so that way we know what the hell we're doing, because I usually have no idea what I'm doing whenever I start anything. So we're going to figure it out as we go. Any last words?
No, if you're watching this on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. That way you can be ready to go for the next one. If you are following us or finding us on Twitch at twitch.tv/TheStockGuy or twitch.tv/Alex with a 3, make sure you hit the follow button. We go live. If you like our content, you like the way we are now, you get to see us live talking about our specific things, whether it's gaming or whether it's the stock market and finances. And then, like I said, you'll see us here every 2 weeks. And there's 2 things that will be guaranteed. This episode will be airing, and my hairline will be further back each time you watch.
I think you got a gorgeous hairline. I think you got a gorgeous hairline.
I appreciate that. Also, I swear to God, our avatars look like... Never mind. We'll talk about it another time.
All right, guys, we're out. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
One
love. Bye-bye.
See you in 2 weeks.
Yay.
Two.
The shirts are staying on for this show. The shirts will come off
our shirts
on this guy's show. The shirts.
Okay, well, I take my shirt off on my show.
Live. You want to see this man shirtless? No nipples though. He brings the camera line up, but he's got sunglasses on. All right, everyone, y'all. One love. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
One love.